Okay, hello everyone. Since it is 7 o'clock, I will welcome everyone and open the meeting now. My name is Frederick Diebel, and I am the Deputy Mayor for the Township, and I'll be chairing this meeting this evening. I guess I'll now declare the meeting open at 7 p.m. And we'll go to number 2 on the agenda. Is there any declarations of conflict of interest for our councillors tonight?
None here, Frederick.
Okay.
Nope.
No conflicts, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I should have said Mr. Chair. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. So now I just wanted to make a remark that it was recommended for moving forward on Zoom that we do make the link public. So tonight we do have, for the people that don't have a Zoom screen and are on the phone, we have some members of the public in attendance as well as our delegations. So I'll move on to number 3 of the agenda, delegations. So our first on the list is Nancy Lacoste and Jane Battistelli from the Espanola Area Ontario Health Team regarding integrated health in Ontario and the importance of local government support. So I'll turn it over to them and they can start their presentation whenever they're ready. And I believe we've enabled the screen sharing. So go ahead.
It's Nancy Lacoste speaking. I'll turn things over to Jane, who is the CAO of the hospital, to just provide some introductions. And then I believe, Belinda, you were going to project the slides for us, and we'll move through those as quickly as possible so we can allow for some conversation. So Jane, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, and thank you to Council for having us here tonight. My name is Jane Battistelli. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Espanola Regional Hospital and Health Centre and representing Ontario Health Teams. And I'll let Nancy introduce herself.
Good. So back over to me. We like to be really informal in our approach, and we just really do thank Council and yourself, Deputy Mayor Diebel, for allowing us the time on tonight's agenda to talk to what we feel is a very important issue for all Ontarians, not just those of us in the North, but the improvement of our healthcare system. So I don't know, can I just do a checkpoint with Belinda? I don't know if you want to project the slides. I believe the package was distributed to Council, but if we have members of the public, it might be nice for the slides to be displayed.
Okay, I'll just turn it over to Belinda here. She's just a little bit of a distance from me, so she'll talk, and I believe that.
Good.
Hello, everyone. I apologize, ladies. We had a little miscommunication when we were discussing sharing the slides and screen sharing. I was under the impression that someone from there would be sharing their screen. So I apologize. I don't have those up and ready, but it was distributed to each councillor in their councillor package, so they can follow along with that. So I apologize for that misunderstanding.
Oh, that's okay. I think that's still just our, thank you, Belinda, and thank you for all your help getting ready for tonight. I think that if it's good with you, Deputy Mayor Diebel, I think that we can just have the conversation, and I think it'll be informative enough, even without the slides, for people to understand where we're coming from. So for those that do have the slides, I'm on the purpose slide, and I really just, Jane and I were hoping for the opportunity on behalf of the Espanola Area Ontario Health Team to just talk to you a little bit tonight about what Ontario Health Teams mean for the province of Ontario, and particularly for those of us in the North, just to talk a little bit about where we're at with things in Espanola Area, which most definitely covers Nairn and Hyman Townships, and then just more importantly, have some discussion with Council on how you can support us to hopefully support us to move forward in this work. So I've recently come out of retirement to join forces with the Espanola and Area Ontario Health Team to just move forward on this work. I formerly did work for Ontario Health North, who is the governing body, if you will, for Ontario Health Teams. So I was most pleased to be able to work within my own community that I live, work, and play in, and to help move this important work forward. So that's really our intention for tonight. But just by way of background, so just looking at the background slide, I think many of you will remember, maybe for some of you, you might be like me and it's hard to remember some things pre-pandemic, but in 2018, when this government came to be and Premier Ford took office, one of the first priorities that this current government, provincial government, was focusing on was healthcare and how healthcare could be improved in our province. So at that time, Premier Ford designated a Premier's Council, if you will, on looking at how healthcare could be improved in Ontario. And many of you would have heard stories and still today hear stories about how our hospitals are over capacity, that there's more patients than there are beds, how the emergency room is overrun with individuals and the wait times in emergency rooms are really long, how it's just hard as an individual to navigate the health system. And so the government put together this council made of system leaders, so health system leaders, as well as patients, families, and caregivers. And they traveled the province coast to coast, if you will, and heard from not only people who provide healthcare services in the province of Ontario, but from patients, family, and caregivers as well. And so those consultations happened in 2018, pre-pandemic. Jane from our hospital in Espanola was very much part of the Northern consultation, as were maybe some of you as patients, families, or caregivers of loved ones. And from these consultations came a number of recommendations. And one of those key recommendations was that the healthcare system is very difficult to navigate and very difficult to journey through as a patient, family, or caregiver. And so the government has put forward the concept of Ontario health teams as a way to better integrate and coordinate healthcare services. So I just move you to the next slide as to what is an Ontario health team. Essentially, it's just very simply put that it's a team of healthcare professionals that are working together to wrap services around the patient, family, and caregiver in a more coordinated fashion. So many of you are probably thinking, well, doesn't this already happen? And I can say to you that we're very fortunate in the Northeast, and in particularly in the Espanola area, because we did some really early day work on this in terms of creating a health hub. So we've already looked at ways to improve the health system in Espanola, but this is just really taking that a step further, if you will, and really involving all partners and all decision makers and leaders in our communities. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Just by way of background information, the ministry expects every person in Ontario to be able to benefit from an Ontario health team. There's no real firm timeline on that right now, but you have likely heard that there are a number of health teams across the Ontario health teams across the province. I think there's about 50 of them to date, last time I checked. For us in the North, what that means is, and more particularly in the Northeast, we only have 2 fully approved Ontario health teams in in the north. The very first one was in North Bay, so capturing the city of North Bay and surrounding area. And the second one just recently announced a number of months ago was Algoma, capturing Sault Ste. Marie and surrounding area. In the Northeast, we have 15 other communities, of which Espanola is one, that has applied to be an Ontario Health Team and have received a designation of what is called in development. So we've submitted, and Jane will talk a little bit more about this, we've submitted our interest to be an Ontario Health Team. The ministry has recognized that interest, but they just want us to do a little bit more work to be able to be ready to move to full application. At the same time, though, that this is happening, Ontario Health North, which was formerly known as the Northeast Local Health Integration Network. So they are the people that do your system planning and system funding for healthcare in Ontario. Ontario Health North is right now leading the work, if you will, of Ontario Health Teams and what that's going to look like for us in the coming months and next steps. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about what we're doing exactly related to that work. So just looking for those of you following on the slides at the vision slide, really what the vision for Ontario Health Teams has been set by the province. And the expectation is that any community that applies to be an Ontario Health Team or will become an Ontario Health Team will be able to deliver on the vision of providing that full coordinated care, looking at ensuring that we have 24/7 navigation services for clients. So essentially what that means is those of you that have experienced the system might know that sometimes on a Saturday or Sunday, if you need help outside of the hospital structure, it's very difficult to navigate the home care community or some of those community services like Meals on Wheels. And when we see the Ontario Health Team at full maturity and in full development, we're hoping that the hope is that that system will have improved so it's easier for patients and families to navigate. At full maturity, you will see one level of accountability for an Ontario Health Team. So just as an example, right now in the province of Ontario, hospitals are accountable to a certain part of the ministry, long-term care is accountable to a different part, primary care is accountable to a different part. At full maturity, when an Ontario Health Team is up and running, and I will share with you, this is years down the road, there will be one structure for accountability, so much clearer for system providers as well as patients and families to understand who's accountable to who. And then you will see that the other two key components for an Ontario Health Team would be the movement towards more digital health options. So some of you are likely familiar with Ontario Telemedicine Network or have had virtual appointments with your specialist or have done video meetings with a physician. You will see a lot better coordination around the use of digital tools and lots of movement right now, even in that front. So that will take a couple of years to be able to get to that stage, but really the intention, I hope what I'm demonstrating to you is the intention is this is a model that will make it easier for patients, families, and caregivers, and actually should result in making it easier for system providers as well, because sometimes when you work in healthcare, it's very difficult to transition patients and families to different providers. And the intention is we will all be working together as one team so that some of those challenges with transferring and referring patients will be much easier. Just moving to the next slide that talks about patient declaration of values. I think one of the key takeaways I would like you to take from this evening's conversation is that the whole intention of jigging, if you will, or looking at better coordination and collaboration of healthcare is really to make it better for patients, families, and caregivers. And to that end, the ministry has developed a provincial patient advisory council. So this is a provincial committee that's informing the government on what is needed to make our healthcare system better. They recently adopted a provincial set of values, including, I'll just read them because I do think that they're really important for those that don't have the slides in front of them. Whatever system we create for Ontario health teams needs to be grounded with respect and dignity, empathy and compassion. It needs to be accountable, like I just talked about, needs to be transparent, and needs to be equitable and have patient and family caregiver engagement. And so to that end, as we're in the formative stages of our Espanola and area Ontario health team, we just recently in the last couple of weeks met with the Patient Advisory Council for the Espanola Hospital. Right now, the Espanola Hospital is in the lead role, if you will, for the Ontario health team for Espanola and area. And we talked to them about the importance of them being part of our work as we move forward locally in creating our Ontario health team. And in your agenda package tonight, you would have received a one-page information flyer to this end. We're actually looking to recruit additional members from the other municipalities that receive service from the Espanola Hospital, if you will, so that we can ensure we have representation from the entire geography that we will serve with our Espanola and area Ontario health team. So we'll talk to you a little bit more about that as we move through as well. But I just really wanted to stress the importance of that. The intention of this work is to really improve the end result, if you will, for patients and families. So I'll pause for a second here. I'm going to ask Jane, and I'm going to give due credit to Jane. Jane was the author of the readiness assessment that was submitted to the ministry on behalf of the Espanola and area Ontario health team. She's been involved and very much a leader of this project from its inception. And I'll just ask her to talk to you a little bit about what has happened with the Espanola and area Ontario health team today.
Thanks, Nancy. So in terms of the planning of the submission, so we submitted our readiness assessment in May of 2019, and then we're advised a few months later that we were in development. So what that meant, or what that means, is that they like what we had submitted for our catchment area. So the Espanola and area Ontario health team really covers the geography of Worthington to Walford to Whitefish Falls, so all of the communities in between. And they really liked what we had submitted, and encouraged us to look further at further partnerships and further collaboration with our partners across the system. Then we met again later with a ministry lead, Alison Costello, and we worked through our submission. And we're continuing to meet with our community partners to strengthen our application. Then COVID hit, so Ontario health teams were paused for probably the last 18 months, and work really has started again at the end of the summer. So there's been a push on by Ontario Health for us to really bolster up our submission. So in terms of continued discussions with Ontario Health North, we are taking part right now on a regional approach, a northeastern approach to Ontario health teams. The shared purpose of that group is to really look, the ministry would like us as the Northeast region to submit one application for an Ontario health team that would cover the geography, the entire geography. Within that, we would be able to submit our own Ontario health proposals. So we're continuing to ensure that we are advocating for rural healthcare and ensuring equity and access to services. I can tell you that as a small rural community, and I think we all know that, there is a bit of disparity between our urban centers and our rural centers in terms of access to services and some of the way some services are provided. So really trying to ensure that our application takes that into consideration, and that we also keep rural healthcare in rural communities, so we can continue to provide the services that we need, so patients and loved ones don't have to travel far distances or down highways to access care. And whatever we can provide in community, we will, and whatever pathways we can provide to a higher level of care, they're well defined and they're easy for patients to access. So in terms of that, we're continuing our efforts. There are some funding opportunities that have become available through Ontario Health Teams, those that are currently awarded Ontario Health Teams and those that are in development. So with that funding, we were actually able to have Nancy do some patient navigation work for us. So really looking at our catchment area, looking at all the services that are in the catchment area and actually mapping those out so that patients can have access to 24/7, eventually 24/7, being able to navigate and know where those services are. And then through that funding, Nancy's also representing our Ontario Health Team and doing some of the advocacy work and the process work around for our communities. Did I hit everything, Nancy?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay. We're almost there, a couple of slides left. So just the important part now, you're probably wondering why, if healthcare is a provincial responsibility, are we talking to local municipality? And I really just wanted to take the time tonight to emphasize, I worked a long time in healthcare, and throughout my career, I had a lot of opportunities to work at different levels of government, but never more important was the work of local government and local leadership. And it's so important now as we think about Ontario Health Teams, your involvement, your continued interest, and your involvement could be as helpful as receiving feedback as we progress through this work on the Ontario Health Teams. As municipal leaders and policymakers, you have an opportunity to advocate to different levels of government for the health of your community. And you've evidenced that in Nairn by your work around the accessibility plan that you've developed, and more recently, your involvement in the community safety and well-being strategy that's being led through the Posh Foothill Municipal Association. And when you really look at the early days reports of the Community Safety and Well-being Project, there are some great synergies with what the intention of an Ontario Health Team is, and the work of the Espanola Area Community Planning of Care Network. And so I think there are some great opportunities. We just hit the timing perfectly for this, if you will, because I know that you have been intimately involved with the work of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Project. We're just, as Jane's already acknowledged, re-energizing our conversations on Ontario Health Teams again. And we really do need your continued partnership with us as an Espanola Area Ontario Health Team as we move forward with creating our local rural, if you will, Ontario Health Team. I think, you know, there are other opportunities that municipalities can help in looking at physician recruitment. I've been around long enough to know that there was a physician located in Nairn at one point. Is that something that we want to see down the road as part of our Ontario Health Team? But unless we're engaging with you and having conversation with you, we can't actively have those conversations. And so I would say to you that it's probably most important that we start the dialogue tonight and continue that dialogue. And I remember a few years ago at the AMO conference, the then OMA president, Dr. Gandhi, who comes from Stayner, Ontario. Maybe some of you were at that AMO conference. He challenged local municipalities to get more involved in healthcare and to start thinking about healthcare infrastructure, recognizing that municipalities, when they think about infrastructure, it's mostly water, sewer, roads, those pieces. But as a community, to attract new people to our community, we need to be able to offer that healthy community as well. And so I would say to you that Dr. Stayner or Dr. Gandhi was probably ahead of his time in not realizing at that time that Ontario health teams were going to come to be. And that's really the importance of having your leadership and your involvement as we move forward for this, and especially for our areas in the north. I would say to you that Jane talks about the disparity between ourselves as smaller rural communities and some of those larger urban centers. I really firmly believe, having worked in small communities for most of my career, that if we do rally together, that it's hard not to listen to us, right? So we need your leadership and your support as we move forward. So just in terms of what's next, and I'll wrap it up here, I just really, we're looking for your continued ear, if you will, and opportunity to maybe better formalize that ask. What we're really looking for is we're hoping to have municipal representation on our Ontario Health Team Leadership Council. We haven't established that leadership council right now. As I said earlier, the leadership for the Ontario Health Team has come from the leadership of the hospital, if you will, but we're looking to better formalize that. And we've not only have we asked local health system partners to be part of the leadership council, but we are coming to you as municipal leaders to have some consideration, not looking for an answer tonight. We will be meeting with all municipal councils in our catchment area. And I have been made recently aware that through the La Cloche Foothills Municipal Association, there's a structure being looked at for how you can move forward with the community safety and well-being plan. So my suggestion to council respectfully would be that once we have our conversations with all town councils, that we come back to you through that municipal association to have a conversation as to how we can ensure that we have municipal leadership as part of the Ontario Health Team moving forward. So that would be ask number one. Ask number two would be that we really are looking for your support to help us to recruit someone from your community to be part of our Patients Advisory Council as part of the Ontario Health Team. So we did provide the package, the one page, if you will, information. If there was a way that you could post that on your website or make that available to residents of your area, that we would appreciate that. And then finally, just to have an open door policy for us to be able to come back to you as a leadership council. There may be times when we need local municipalities to advocate and support for rural health, and whether that be letter writing to the ministry or a more formal ask. We're just really putting you on notice today that we may, as we move forward with this process, need to come back to you to support the work of the Ontario Health Team that will benefit the residents of Nairn and area. So that in a nutshell is what we were hoping to convey tonight. So through you, Mr. Chair, we're happy to take any questions, but thank you most definitely from myself and Jane for the time tonight.
Yeah, thank you. That was excellent. I'll open it up to any councillors if there's any questions.
Yes, I had a comment, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you so much, Nancy and Jane. That was a wonderful presentation. And you're absolutely right. Many of your questions I had were answered during this, so that's wonderful. But I very strongly support Espanola and Area Ontario Health Team. I think this is a great idea, and thank you so much for doing the work, bringing it to our attention. I'm glad it started up also after the beginning of the pandemic. Now you're rolling again, which is great. And just on a personal note, I have a mother, dementia for 6 years. We've navigated that system that you were talking about. She is in long-term care now, and yeah, it's quite the journey. But having said that, and I won't take any more time, I would be definitely interested in assisting in any way I could help this new team get going. So if you want to put my name down, I am in, and I will do whatever else I can to help get recruits or get the message out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions from councillors?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I would just like to thank the ladies for the wonderful presentation. It was really well done and very much appreciated. And I look forward to watching the progress and maybe participating after all of the municipalities have been contacted. Thank you again.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks a lot. So we'll move on to our next item in the agenda. So yeah, you guys are welcome to leave or stay if you'd like, but thank you once again.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Okay, we'll now move on to delegations under 3B. Wayne Austin regarding consent approval authority notice of decision. Cash and lieu of parkland representing 5% of the value. I do have to give a little side note to councillors here that Mr. Austin was not able to join us, so we can open the discussion when we get to the correspondence under 7B, and we can talk about it then. We can now move on to 3C. We have LaDonna and Jim Sproul from Jim's Portable Toilets and Septic Service regarding the presentation of plan to access the Nairn landfill site. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Sproul.
Thank you. You guys can hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yes.
Perfect. And you guys got my letter about the proposing what we do is proposing that we put together on Monday, getting over the people that would be pumped over to you guys, let you approve it and send it back to us. And then we would do it. And then in your mailbox, we would put the forms of the Nairn Hyman septic waste disposal information sheets in the mailbox. And you would get those. So you would receive what's coming before it gets to you. And then you would have your sheet, if that's okay with you guys.
Okay, I guess I'll open it up if there's any councillor comments. I know we do have some motions on this later towards the end, towards correspondences, because there was some recommendation from the municipal superintendent. So I think we'll hold off until to vote on anything or to talk about motions. But if there's any questions for Mr. Sproul right now from any counselors, now would be the time.
No, I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. So is there anything you would like to add, Mr. Sproul, or?
No, I was asked to do what I can do, and this would be the best way. As far as like how we do it now, this would you actually would know what's coming before it gets to you, so that's pretty good. And we would have to maybe look at the emergency ones that come in after 5 or something, where we would send it, maybe get approved on it or not. But for right now, this would be a good start. You would know exactly what's coming to you. I don't think anybody in Ontario could give you anything better of what's coming to your dump site than what you're getting right here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And like I said, there's emotions on it later this evening, so councillors will have the opportunity to discuss it later on. So I guess we'll move on to number 4, discussions arising from previous council minutes. Is there anything on that, councillors?
Nope.
No, Mr. Chair.
No. Nope.
Okay. So this is just to pass the, I guess we'll move on to number 5 then, approval of council minutes from previous meeting, the public meeting and regular council meeting minutes from November 8th, 2021. Councillor McDonald, will you move that?
Yes.
And Councillor Gingras, second?
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Gingras, resolved that the following council minutes be accepted as presented: public meeting and regular council meeting minutes, November 8th. So Councillor Bourrier in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
Myself is in favor, so that carries. Okay. Moving on to minutes and reports. This is just to accept the, these are just to accept the minutes and reports from 7A to E. So Councillor Bourrier, can I get a first?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald, a second?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Bourrier, second by Councillor McDonald. Be it resolved that the following minutes and reports 7A to E are accepted as presented. A, Aqua October 2021 work order summary. B, Aqua 2021 management review minutes, November 18th, 2021. C, public health Sudbury and district minutes, October 21st, 2021. D, public health Sudbury and district minutes, November 18th, 2021. And E, La Cloche Foothills Municipal Association minutes, December 6th, 2021. Councillor Bourrier, in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
Myself is in favor, so that carries. Was there any comments on any of those? So just from 6A to that was E. Any comments on those, councillors?
None here.
Okay.
No, no comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we'll move on. This is just to accept the minutes and reports, the following ones from 7F to Q. This is just to note them as received, and then I'll open the floor for discussion on them. And we do have motions on those ones. So Councillor Gingras first.
Yes.
And Councillor Bourrier second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Bourrier. Resolved that the following minutes and reports 7F to Q are noted as received. F, La Cloche Foothills Municipal Association Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan 2021 to 2025. G, Township of Nairn Hyman Community Parks and Recreation Committee minutes, November 23rd, 2021. H, Township of Nairn and Hyman Bank Reconciliation, May 2021. I, Township of Nairn and Hyman Bank Reconciliation, June 21st, 2021, or sorry, June 2021. J, Township of Nairn and Hyman Bank Reconciliation, July 2021. K, Township of Nairn and Hyman Bank Reconciliation, August 2021. L, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO Report number 2021-043 regarding the resignation of Mayor Falbeen and the declaration of the mayor's seat to be vacant. M, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO Report number 2021-044 options to fill the vacant seat of the mayor. N, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO Report 2021-045 updated draft COVID-19 vaccination policy. O, Township of Nairn and Hyman Municipal Superintendent Septage Lagoon Report December 7th, 2021. P, Township of Nairn and Hyman Municipal Superintendent Report December 7th, 2021. And Q, Township of Nairn and Hyman's Fire Chiefs Report December 6th, 2021. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Zingra
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. That carries. Okay, so I guess I'll go in order of those. So that would be 6G would be, or sorry, 6F, La Cloche Foothills Municipal Association Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan 2021-2025. Is there any comments from councillors on those, on that one? Okay. Is there any comments on 6F? Okay, I guess I'll move on. This is just to accept the plan and approve the plan. Councillor McDonald, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Zingra, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Zingra, resolved that the Council of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorses and approves the La Cloche Foothills Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan as presented. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Zingra.
Yes.
Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is a yes, so that carries. Okay, these are some motions regarding the Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Rec minutes. So this one is to allocate the remaining funds that the Recreation Committee that was allotted to move that into the reserve account for the future. So Councillor Bourrier, can I get a first?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Bourrier, second by Councillor McDonald, whereas Council notes the Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Recreation Committee Resolution number 2021 Rec-45, and therefore be it resolved that all remaining funds allocated to the Recreation Committee as of December 31st, 2021 be placed in the Recreation Reserve account for use in the future. Councillor Bourrier.
Yes.
Councillor Zingra.
Yes. Was that 44 or 43, Mr. Chair? Sorry.
I believe it was 43.
Yes, 43. Okay, I thought you said 45. Sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry,
Chair.
my bad. Yeah, 43.
Yes, I'm in favor. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. That carries.
I just had a comment, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, for sure.
I just wanted to thank the Rec Committee for all their hard work, and the Christmas lighting was on the weekend, the Christmas tree lighting, and I'm sure it went well, and I just want to thank them for all the work that they're doing for the community. Thank you.
That will, yeah, definitely be passed on to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, excuse me. Continuing on, This is just a motion that the rec committee requests $100 for a family outdoor rink event. This was passed before the new restrictions, so I'm not sure what it's going to look like with new restrictions, but this is just for $100 for the family outdoor rink event in January. So Councillor Zinger, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Bourrier.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Zinger, second by Councillor Bourrier. Whereas Council notes the Township of Nairn and Hyman Parks Community Parks and Recreation Committee Resolution number 2021 Rec-44, and therefore be it resolved, Council approves the requested budget for a family outdoor rink event in the amount of $100. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingra
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is a yes, so that carries. Okay, moving on now to 6L, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report number 2021 regarding -043 regarding the resignation of Mayor Faldeen. Is there any comments? The motion in front of me is just to accept the former mayor's resignation and declare the seat vacant, but I'll just ask if there's any comments from councillors at this point in time.
Mr. Chair, my only comment is I'm sorry that our mayor has left. And I would be in favor as far, did you want to know that now? As far as our options, I'm in favor of option number 1 to fill his seat.
Okay, yeah, I'll just get council's thoughts when we get to 6M for options to fill the seat. This is just to declare the seat vacant.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to thank the mayor for his 11 years for service towards the community. And yeah, okay. So this is just to declare the seat vacant. Councillor Bourrier, can I get a first?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Bourrier, second by Councillor McDonald, that council receives the CAO's report number 2021-043, and the council acknowledges the receipt of the resignation, a letter of Mayor Faldeen dated November 17th, 2021 from the position of mayor, and that in accordance with section 262 of the Municipal Act 2001, Council of the Township of Nairn and Hyman does hereby declare the office of the mayor to be vacant. Councillor Bourrier in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Gingra?
Yes, with regret.
And Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, so that carries. Okay, moving on to 6M. So I'll open any comments from councillors in the 6M on the reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I already did comment.
Okay.
Is this where we are letting you know what option we're in favor of?
Yeah, under the options to fill the vacancy. Yeah.
Yes, the options, I'm in favor of option 1, appointing from present sitting council. Thank you.
I'm sorry to see our mayor go, but with no other options, I'm in favor of the 1A as well.
Okay, is there any other comments on that?
Yes, I agree with one of the councillors replace the mayor.
Okay, I am also in agreement. So we have a few resolutions in front of us for that, if we're all in agreement that we want to proceed through appointing someone to council. I'm just going to ask the CIO to point me in the right direction here.
Are we planning on doing that tonight, Mr. Deputy Mayor, or are we planning on doing that at the next meeting?
So I guess so. The CAO has informed me that there is an option to appoint a member of council this evening, or we can hold off and appoint someone at the January meeting. So I'd like to get council's thoughts on that as well.
I'm fine appointing at the January meeting, Mr. Chair.
I am too, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, so let's go with that. I think we can have some time to process this and then do the procedure come the January meeting. So this is just to declare that we will be appointing from an existing member of council. So can I get a first from Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
And a second from Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor McDonald. Therefore, be it resolved that the office of the mayor vacancy to be filled by appointing a current member of council, and that the clerk provide notice of the public of the method selected by council, and that the clerk be delegated authority to prepare and approve meeting procedures to support the selection and appointment of a member of council to the office of mayor, and that the selection appointment of mayor take place at the regular scheduled council meeting to occur on January 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. And that the clerk bring forward a report to the January 10th, 2022 council meeting as how the subsequent vacancy arising from the appointment of the mayor from an existing member of council will be resolved. So Councillor Bourrier first.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras.
Yes, I just had a quick comment, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the CAO for the options and the format she gave us. I really appreciated showing the options with the advantages and disadvantages of our options. And so I just wanted to thank her for that through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. And yes, I will second the motion.
Sorry, that was in favor. My bad. So Councillor Bourrier, you were in
Sorry.
favor.
Yes.
And then Councillor Gingras
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is a yes, so that carries. Sorry for the confusion. Okay. We will now move on to 6N, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO report number 2021-045 regarding the updated draft COVID-19 policy, vaccination policy. Is there any comments on that? I know I had one, but I will wait if there's any comments from the councillors.
Yes, I just had a comment, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, again, thank Belinda for her work on this. I really appreciate what she put together, and I support it. And I just wanted to thank her for the work. And as we're getting worse, here we are at a Zoom meeting again, and the cases are going higher. And so, yes, I think it's crucial we get this in place. And I thank her for all the work she did on it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. All right. Any other comments?
I'd just like to say that, yes, I agree with Councillor Gingras. The report was very well done. Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is to, I guess my comments were just that moving forward, I believe it's important in our policy to have something stating that that we do follow whatever government, whether it's the federal or the provincial government, setting out the guidelines that who is deemed fully vaccinated. As we know, we are moving towards people getting a third shot, and I believe once more and more people get a third shot, it would be the third shot that is declared fully vaccinated. But I think that was covered within the policy. So we'll move forward.
Yeah, I just had another comment, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
Yeah, Councillor Zingra.
Yes, and I do agree that, yes, we need to keep up with what the valid of the day full vaccination means, whether it's one and a booster or whatever it might be. We have to definitely keep up with that, and I suppose amend as we're going along. But I just had another comment about like moving forward, this is for our employees. And I just thought, again, as the cases are getting worse, that hopefully in the future we'll have something regarding like our volunteers, or if we're going to rent the hall, procedures to enter the hall at a public event, just things like that. So I know we just keep asking for more and more policies, but I do think that that could be coming down the wire for us, and I would like to see that. That's just my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Certainly. Okay. So if council doesn't have any other comments, this is to accept the vaccination policy as presented. So Councillor McDonald, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Zingra, a second?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Zingra. Resolved that the CAO's report number 2021-045 be received for information, and that the COVID-19 vaccination policy be presented as adopted. Be adopted as presented. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Zingra
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is in favor, and that carries. Okay, that brings us to 6-0, Township of Nairn and Hyman Municipal Superintendent Septic Lagoon, December 7th. Septic Lagoon report, December 7th. I believe that possibly our municipal superintendent is in attendance tonight. I'm not overly, I'm not sure. I can't see if the names have changed or anything like that on Zoom. But I'll just ask if there's any comments from any councillors from that report that's been put forward.
Yes. Is there going to be a motion on the superintendent's report?
Yes, there is. We have a few motions in front of us to decide whether what council wants to decide. So we do have a few motions. So I'll just gauge what council thinks.
Yes, Mr. Chair, my comment was I support the superintendent's new recommendations after last month's meeting, and I also support what Mr. Sproul mentioned in his delegation, and if we can merge the two together, I would be in favor of that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is there any other comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councillor McDonald, any comments?
Just that the motion with the superintendent there is that's going the way he worded it on his report. That's the way I will vote on.
Okay. So we do have the recommendation from the municipal superintendents. The only report, the only thing that I was worried about is after the probation period, that there was an ask to increase the tipping fees by 30%. I believe that that is not fair. I believe we should remove that, but is there any comments from council on that particular addition?
The only comment I have there is that if we raise it, it's going to be, like the commercial, industrial, and residents, that we're going to get billed for it anyway. So they're just going to pass it on to us. So I would agree with dropping the raise.
Okay.
And I will second that and agree with you both gentlemen that yes, I would agree with taking out the increase also.
Okay, so I'll strike that from the motion here, and then we can go ahead and vote on the penalty that was suggested by the municipal superintendent.
Yes, and I don't know if council agrees, but I'd also like to see what Mr. Sproul had mentioned, where he comes in and tells us even before he goes what he's doing. Like I like that idea too. I don't know if we need that in the motion, but I think that would be a good practice also.
Yeah, I believe I think that was added once the probation period
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We could add that into the probation period, the request or the plan from Mr. Sproul. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? I don't know what you're voting on. What's the probation period or anything like that?
Okay, sorry, my bad. So the municipal superintendent had put forward a 24-month revoking of dumping rights, so for 2 years, followed by a full year of a probation period. And they would
3 years?
Yeah. So it'd be 2 years of no dumping, and then 1 year of a probation period where
why would it be 2 years of no dumping? I don't understand that. Like, this could have been solved with I'm sorry, I don't understand the 2 years. This was a simple fix. This could have been solved before this, and a fine would have been fine. Like, I don't understand the 2 years. It's like you're giving one company out of Sudbury all rights to dump everything from Nairn and nobody else. Like, and we're your back door. Like, we hire students that live here. We have 21 employees here. Like, I get what you're doing, but I don't understand it. I'm very, very confused by it. Like, 2 years, I didn't see that coming.
I'm sorry, but last time we were brought to this meeting, he asked us to come up with something to propose, which I feel like we have done a great job. What are his support recommendations other than the 3-year probation, two years probation and 12 months possibility? But what other recommendations is he asking for?
So it was so the municipal superintendent has requested that we revoke the dumping rights for 2 years. So there would be no access to the landfill for 2 years. And then followed by, after the 2 years are up, then followed by a 12-month probation where you'd only be able to access the landfill when it's open to the public. So the regular hours that you were suggesting already. And then the municipal superintendent had also asked that we increase the tipping fees at this time by 30%. And it seems like council is in agreement to waive that and not pass that tonight. But the resolution in front of us is the recommendation from the municipal superintendent.
Yeah, I see what you're doing, but you truly are, and we are supposed to be local, right? And the kids that live in your backyard work for us. Our people live from Espanola to Massey, work for us. I don't understand why you would take yourself 2 years here and give it to one company out of Sudbury to come in and dump. So it's one guy from Sudbury who has no employees who's taking your waste and dumping it, while you've got a company with 21 employees. And like I said last time, I really feel like we're being picked on here. We're being segregated. And I proved to you last time I was there, we didn't do what he said we did. And on the one part where we did do the dumping on the thing, a fine would have been like a fine or something brought in. Like, I don't understand what's happening here. I think Nairn, this approach of the 2 years is really hard. I figured we were just going to get probation and maybe a fine. I did not see 2 years coming here because you're opening the door for one company now.
Yeah, this is, like I said, this is the report from the superintendent, and it is my understanding that we have more than just the one company accessing our landfill for that type of service.
Okay.
I guess if there's any councillors with comments on that, I can open the floor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just had a comment to say that the previous recommendation of the superintendent was a lifetime ban, and I was not in favor of that, of course, at the last meeting. And this is what he came up with. Like I say, a lifetime ban, absolutely not. I would never support that. But this is his recommendation for disciplinary action for the issues that happened. We're not there. We're just going by the reports we see and what is happening. And like I say, though, especially through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Sproul, like we would never want to ban you permanently, as was the original recommendation. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are my comments.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that this is a bit of a resolution from the lifetime ban. I agree, Councillor. And I think it's appropriate. And I think we follow what the municipal superintendent has requested. So is there any last comments before we put this to a vote?
There's no wiggle room, like they were talking about the 3 years, no matter what. Like the 24 months plus the 1 year, like no matter what. There's nothing that we can do to work with each other. If you're talking lifetime ban down to 3 years, but there's nothing that we can.
Well, it's up to council's discretion right now, so we can rejig the wording here in the motion if that's what council wants. But that's what was requested from the municipal superintendent, was the 24 months plus another 12. So that's what's in front of us, but it is up for discussion. It is up for rejigging if any councillors want to make comments on that.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to agree with what our superintendent has put forward to us. He seems to believe that the digression, the things that were done were way worse. He wanted to, like Brig was saying, Councillor Ginga was saying, like a lifetime ban. He's brought it down to 24 months. I'm going to have to go with our superintendent, who knows what he's doing. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree with the superintendent also. Read the motion there so we can see what the motion really is.
Okay, yeah, I'll read it. So this is whereas the superintendent's report entitled Septage Lagoon dated December 7th, 2021 be received for information. And whereas council has considered the municipal superintendent's recommendations and the comments received from the representatives of Jim's Portable Toilets and Septic Services. Therefore, be it resolved that council revokes the dumping rights for Jim's Portable Toilets and Septic Services at the Nairn landfill site Septage Lagoon for a period of 24 months, followed by a 12-month probation period when they will they will be allowed access to the landfill only when open to the public. So, Councillor McDonald, can I get a first on that?
Yes.
And Councillor Bourrier?
Yes.
Okay, so moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Bourrier. Whereas the municipal superintendent's report entitled Septic Lagoon dated December 7th, 2021 be received for information. And whereas council has considered the municipal superintendent's recommendation and the comments received from representatives from Jim's Portable Toilets and Septic Services, therefore be it resolved that council revokes the dumping rights for Jim's Portable Toilets and Septic Services at the Nairn landfill site Septage Lagoon for a period of 24 months, followed by a 12-month probation period when they will be allowed access to the landfill only when open to the public. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingra.
Yes.
Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
And myself is a yes, so that carries.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, thanks, councillors. Moving forward now is just to, I guess, is there any comments on 6P Township and Nairn Hyman Municipal Superintendent Report, December 7th, 2021, or 6Q, the Fire Chief's Report?
I have none.
Okay.
I have none.
No, I'm good.
Okay, moving forward to correspondences. So this is just to note the correspondences be noted as received. So Councillor Burry, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Gingras, second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Burry, second by Councillor Gingras. Be it resolved that the correspondences 7A to D be noted as received. Councillor Burry in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras.
Yes.
And Councillor McDonald.
We're not going to deal with none of these?
Yeah, this is just to be noted as received. We have we
Okay.
have motions on them later. Yeah.
Okay. I always get screwed up here.
It's
okay.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, and myself is a yes, so that carries. Okay, so 7A, there's no motions on that. That was just the presentation. So 7B, Mr. Austin is unable to be here, but I personally, after reading his story, reading his letter, I personally agree that we waive the 5% and that we remove that from his consent application. So is there any other comments from councillors on 7B?
I agree with you.
Oh, sorry.
No, I agree with you because it's not fair to have one taxpayer centered out like that. We haven't been doing this. We've been waiving it for years now. I'm done.
Yes, and Mr. Chair, my comment was I support the waiving of the parkland fee on the consent approval for Mr. Austin. Yes, absolutely, after reading this letter.
Okay, so we do have a motion on that. Can I get a first by Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
And a second by Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor McDonald. Resolved that council has reviewed the correspondence received from Wayne Austin and that council agrees to remove the condition of his consent that required him to pay cash in lieu of parkland representing 5% of the value of land to the Township of Nairn and Hyman. Councillor Burry in favor?
Yes, but can I ask one quick question? Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah,
was kind of skipped over, sorry. I just
All good.
am wondering if every time this happens, we waive the green space fee. Just my question is, why is it there? Why can we get rid of that instead of having to deal with this every time something happens?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can turn it over. I think that's an administrative question for the CAO, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a really good question, Councillor Borney. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good question about the 5%. Great thought to the future. If we are constantly removing this condition going forward, should this be something that we remove? And that I'm looking for council's direction on that. It is a regular fee that is brought up through the planning process. It's something that a lot of municipalities do impose when there's a severance or a consent. So that if council would like to give me some direction to remove those going forward for this term of council, I would be happy to hand that along to the planners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Okay, this is just to, this was the original motion to waive the payment from Mr. Austin. So Councillor Burry, can I get a first? Or a in favor?
100% yes, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gingras
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is carried. Okay. And then, so now we have, is there any comments on 7D? Pat and Mark Samson regarding septic service November 23rd, 2021.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just have a comment or maybe question. I feel we should respond to this letter. I don't know how council feels, but clearly he's familiar with what's probably going on, and I think he deserves a response from council.
Yeah, I think there was some. I think there was some confusion regarding that. I believe that he thinks that he cannot no longer get the services from Jim's portable toilets, but he can still get the service. It's just that Jim won't be allowed to use our facilities. He can go to Espanola, or he could go to Sudbury to dump his sewage from the truck. So I think maybe just a clarification correspondence to say that yes, we did pass this motion, and that we're not banning Mr. Sproul completely from the community. It's just that from the landfill.
Yes, I would appreciate that. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, so we'll move on to motion. So that's motion's 8. So that's 8A. So this is just to pass that motion. So can I get a first from Councillor Bourrier?
Yes.
And second by Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Bourrier, second by Councillor Gingras. Resolved that the Township of Nairn and Hyman Council, in support of CUPE Ontario OMER's investment performance report, is calling for an immediate, comprehensive, and independent third-party expert review of OMER's investment performance and its practice over the past 10 years. And that such a review would, at minimum, compare OMER's plan level and asset class level performance to other comparable defined benefit pension plans and funds, OMER's internal benchmarks and marketing-based benchmarks. B, examine OMER's decision-making process around the timing of various investments and decisions. C, access the risk management policies and protocols were in place and determine if they were followed and or if they were sufficient to protect the plan from undue risk. D, access whether the disclosures provided to the OMER's administrative and sponsorship boards were sufficient evidence to allow the boards to respond appropriately in a timely manner. E, examine executive compensation, investment fees, and investment costs at OMER's in comparison to other major benefit pension plans and funds. F, examine other relevant issues identified by third-party expert review. G, make recommendation for changes at OMER's to ensure stronger returns moving forward. H, issue their final report and recommendation in a timely manner. I, publicly release its full report and recommendations to ensure that it is available to OMER sponsors, stakeholders, and plan members. And further, that the Township of Nairn Hyman Council calls on the OMER's administrative cooperation to A, provide all requested data, documentation, and information required of the review panel to fulfill its mandate, and B, establish a step-by-step plan with OMER's sponsors and stakeholders to implement any recommendations set out in the review report. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to CUPE Ontario and OMER's. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. So that carries. Okay, moving on to 8B, City of Kitchener regarding review of Ontario Fire Code Section 9.5. Councillor McDonald, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Bourrier a second?
Yes.
Moved by Rod, second by Kathy. Resolved that the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorses and supports the resolution of the City of Kitchener and urges the provincial government to direct the Ontario Fire Marshal to undertake an immediate review of the portion of the Ontario Fire Code known as retrofit section 9.5, and further that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the Municipal Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the City of Kitchener. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras in favor.
Yes.
And Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. That's carried. Okay, this is another City of Kitchener regarding liquor license sales and patio extensions. Councillor Gingras first.
Yes.
Councillor McDonald a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, or moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor McDonald. Resolved that the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorses and supports the resolution of the City of Kitchener and urges the provincial government to continue the relaxed regulations in permitting the extension of licensed areas without requiring AGCO approval and allowing flexibility for demarcation of limits of a patio. And further that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Chief Executive Officer of AGCO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in the City of Kitchener. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras in favor.
Yes.
And Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. That carries. And one more motion, 8D. This is regarding Regional Municipality of Durham regarding bus stop dead end roads. So can I get a first from Councillor Bourrier?
Yes.
And a second, Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Bourrier, second by Councillor Gingras. Resolved that the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorses and supports the resolution of the Regional Municipality of Durham requesting that the Ministry of Education and the Province of Ontario amends its policies requiring that student transportation services and school boards work with the parents to facilitate the use of smaller buses, spotters, and three-point turns, or backing up where necessary to provide safer service to dead-end roads and private road children, and prevent the need for additional turnarounds to be constructed on municipal roads. And further that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Transport, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federal, Canadian Municipalities, the Ontario Good Roads Association, and the Regional Municipality of Durham. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras.
Yes.
And Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
And myself is a yes, so that motion carries. Okay, moving on to bylaws, 9A, bylaw number 2021-36, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement for the purpose of providing management, operation, administration, and maintenance services in respect of Nairn Centre Water Works System between the Ontario Clean Water Agency and the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman. Is there any comments on that one?
Nope.
Nope. No comments here.
Okay. So I'll move, if I can get a first by Councillor Gingras.
Yes.
And a second by Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor McDonald. Resolved that being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement for the purpose of providing management, operation, administration, and maintenance services in respect of the Nairn Centre Water Works System between the Ontario Clean Water Agency and the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman be read a first, second, and third time, and finally be passed in open council, and its number shall be 2021-36. Kathy in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Gingras?
Yes.
And Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
And myself as a yes. So that carries. And this is just to note the number 10 for information only. This is just to note them as received. Councillor McDonald, the first.
Yes.
Councillor Bourrier, second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Bourrier. Be it resolved that for the 4 information items only, items 11A to B be noted as received. Oh, my bad. It's items 10A to B be noted as received. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
And myself as a yes. Okay, and I believe we just have the one last bylaw. So this is just the conformatory bylaw. So Councillor Gingras, can I get out first?
Yes.
Councillor Bourrier, second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Bourrier. Be it resolved that being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman be read a first, second, and third time, and finally be passed in open council, and its number shall be 2021-37. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras,
Yes.
Councillor McDonald,
Yes.
and myself is a yes, so that carries. Okay, last one for adjournment. Councillor McDonald, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Gingras, second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Gingras, that the meeting of December 13th do now adjourn at 8:25 p.m. and to meet again on the 10th day of January 2022, or at the call of the mayor. I would guess we should switch that.
Yeah.
The call of acting head of council, yeah. The call of okay. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Gingras, that the meeting of December 13th, 2021 do now adjourn at 8:25 p.m. and to meet again on the 10th day of January 2022, or at the call of the acting head of council. Councillor Bourrier in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
And myself
Good
is a
meeting,
yes.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
And that carries. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night,
And,
folks.
yeah, good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Good night. Thank you all.